How do dogs perceive the objects around them? Just like us, they rely on what they see and feel to identify objects. In our research, we explored how dogs perceive whether something seems familiar, focusing on two key aspects: shape and texture. When we humans learn the name of a new object, we tend to extend the same name to objects that have the same shape. This is called shape bias. But what about dogs? Since they do not use language like us, do they also pay attention to shapes, or do they rely more on texture? We set out to answer this question by testing whether the dogs would pick toys that were the same shape or the same texture as an object they were trained to choose and retrieve to their owner. We analyzed data from 35 adult dogs of different breed. In the training phase, the dogs were trained to fetch the target object until they consistently picked it out among distractors that differed in shape, texture, size, and color. Once the dogs successfully learned to fetch the target, we moved on to the testing phase. Here, each dog was required to choose one out of two objects placed on the floor. In 4 trials, one object was the trained target, while the other object matched either its shape or texture. In the other 4 trials, one of the objects matched the target's shape but was with a different texture, and other one matched the target's texture but with the different shape. We observed 2 behavioral variables: which object they approached first and which one they ultimately chose to retrieve. Interestingly, the dogs initially approached most often objects with a similar shape. But when it came to making their final choice, they preferred objects that matched the texture of the trained target. Probably the dog's initial approach was guided by visual modality, as shape was a saliently similar visually to the target. But when they are making the final choice, they felt the object in their mouth and texture became more salient. These results suggest that while visual cues, like shape, guide a dog's first approach, tactile information, such as texture, plays a decisive role when they physically interact with the objects. In the end, this study helps us learn more about how dogs perceive and interact with their environment. And it turns out, texture might just be more important than we thought when it comes to making decisions.